We good?
Yep, I think we're ready, Ken.
All right. Hey, good evening, everyone. Good to see you on Zoom. I can see some of your faces, some of your names, and it's exciting because I know most of you. This is Ken Russell, proud to be your superintendent. I was just heading from the kitchen over to my den room and told my high school son that I had a Zoom meeting, and he was like, "You guys still Zoom? What's going on?" So anyways, yeah, we still Zoom every once in a while. So nice to be with you tonight. And we just have a quick overview of our HiCap program and kind of the progress that we're making in meeting our vision. So pleasure to be here with Brandy, who we've hired as a consultant for our highly capable program. And then, honored to be your superintendent. So we're just trying to help Riverside continue to get better every year, every day. Our goal is to be the best rural district in our region. We still have a lot of work to do, but we think we have some positive momentum. We have a lot of metrics that show that we're getting better around student outcomes, our graduation rates, our test scores, our MAP results, a variety of different assessments. We're just getting better results. Part of it is our culture. We've spent a lot of time on just creating a place where people feel like they belong and kids feel known and valued. And so we still have a lot of work to do, but we feel like we're on the right trajectory. And so part of that vision of being the best rural district in the region is to have a strong, highly capable program. In the past, we feel like in Riverside, we put a lot of energy and time into students with disabilities, students from trauma, students who are not at standard, not at grade level. And while we still want to do great work and continue to get better in that area, we also want to put a new, heavier emphasis on meeting the needs of our highly capable students and their families. It might be a good idea for Brandy in a moment to remind people what highly capable even means, because highly capable is a distinction in Washington State specifically, and there's some misnomers around it. And so some of you were on our Zoom a few months ago, some of you were not. So I think that's going to be important. But just know that highly capable students who are your kids they have unique needs. We need to know all of our kids by their name, by their family, by their needs, by their strengths. And this is an area that we really want to put a lot of emphasis and improvement. So our vision is really to be a destination district for highly capable students, families, and teachers. So in the district that I came from, the Meade School District, we had what I would call a good, highly capable program. I had a couple of my own kids who went through the program, but I think we want to have something that's better than what they have to offer, just as an example. So if we can attract great families like you and meet the needs of our kids and gain a really good reputation around highly capable programs and services, I think it does all of us a really solid. So now, please know that anytime we have a vision, we want to ultimately make it a shared vision. So you, as leaders, we can have all kinds of great ideas, but if we don't bring people along and support them, it's difficult to make it an actual sustainable shared vision. So we have to honor the change process. So as an example, as we're building this program, I would just ask you to have patience and understanding that it's not going to happen overnight, that we've already made some great progress in this year, and that we're going to be moving forward and trying some great initiatives next year, but we're not exactly where we want to be quite yet. We purposely started at the elementary level with the idea that we would continue to build the foundation and then continue with our progress as we went into middle school and high school. So we use the term go slow to go fast. You've often heard the term, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. That's kind of the same concept. Is we want to build a culture of high expectations and services for our highly capable students and their families. I think we're good. I think we're good, Brandy, to move to the next slide.
All right, so we have already had some accomplishments this year. And what I'm going to do today is just kind of tell you the story of where we've come from November until today, and then where we're going moving into later this week, later this summer, and then into next year. So we've had an opportunity so far. I've had an opportunity. I came into the schools in November and had an opportunity to have some discussions with teachers and administration and several of you parents, which has been fantastic. We've been gathering up that survey data. We've been finding out what it is that you need. And that was one of the questions that we asked earlier in that Padlet. What is it that gifted kids need? What is it that gifted parents need? What is it that gifted teachers need? And then what do school leaders who are serving these kids inside of our organizations need to know in order to help them to be their best selves? And so we've done the legwork, and had some of those conversations already, and I'm learning so much information. It's been a learning tour as I've come in this first year. And one of the things that I heard a lot from teachers is that I need resources. I need something that I can use with my kids right away that can take them and extend their knowledge. I heard the same thing from parents. I need a resource that we can use at home with our gifted kids that will take them to the next level, that might challenge them. And so an easy, quick win was for us to order for all of the students who've been identified Renzulli Learning. And so we've identified 135 students. And when I say identified, what we did is we went out to the teachers and we said, who are these kids that are bubbling up to the top? Who are the kids that you have your eye on that you think might be highly capable? And Ken mentioned earlier, highly capable is just a word that we use in Washington State, which I think is so interesting. Everyone else uses the word gifted. We in Washington have to be a little different. We have to use highly capable or high cap. It means exactly the same thing. And what we've done at Riverside is we've cast a wide net. And so when I say cast a wide net, first we went out to the teachers and we said, who are these kids? We went out to the principals and we said, who are these kids? And then we got the names of your children. Your kiddos were the ones that were brought forward. They were the ones that your teachers had an eye on. That's why you're here tonight. And then what we did is we gave them Renzulli Learning. Again, it was a quick win. It is not an end all be all. It's not, something that we're going to be using as our gifted curriculum. It's nothing like that. It was a quick win to get us the resources that we needed to expand some learning for your kids as we began this process. And then what we did is we gathered small groups of teachers together and started having some PLC conversations. And it was interesting because all of a sudden your kids were on their radar. And it was, so not only are we looking at the kids on the lower end of the spectrum, we're also looking at the kids on the higher end of the spectrum. So it was flipping that thinking a little bit and really focusing attention on all of our students, not just our low kids, not just the kids in the middle, and not just the high kids. It was all of our kids. But again, the conversations that we were having were focused on the higher kids. And then moving into one-on-one coaching with parents. For several of you, I've had the opportunity to either meet face-to-face or meet on the telephone or have some conversations one way just through the newsletter, which has been really nice. And then the survey data that we got as well. And parents are like, I need more information. And what I heard after our last conversation that we had when Ken and I came together is, wow, many of you said, nobody's ever talked to my child like that, or I've never thought of my child as gifted, or this is just opening a whole new realm of learning and opportunity for me, or have you been inside of my house like a fly on the wall? How did you know all of this was going on? Because when you're talking to people down the road, they just don't understand oftentimes. And if you talk with somebody who understands gifted kids, you can have those deeper conversations. I can have them with you. You can have them with one another. Then what we did is we began to administer COGAT testing. We administered it to 135 students. And then from those 135, we looked at the kids who were in the 85th percentile and higher and gave them a series of 6 additional tests. So we pre-screened 135. And then from there, we took the next level to get our next level of data. Now that we have that data, what we've done is we said, okay, so based on the COGAT scores, and this is just one piece of information, one moment in time, we have some kids who definitely bubbled up to the top. And when we say up to the top, we're looking at kids in the 89th or 90th percentile and higher. But this is just one piece of data. We're also beginning to look at the SBA scores that are starting to come in. We're looking at MAP data, kids that are scoring in the 98th, 99th percentile at either reading or language art, or sorry, reading or math. So we're beginning to put all of the pieces together. We're beginning to get some anecdotal information from teachers, and we'll be reaching out to you to get some more anecdotal information about your kids as well. In May, what we did is we've said, okay, now we're going to get together as teachers and we're going to cast a vision. And we asked interested teachers who were interested in coming together with us. Dr. Russell visited us as well. The principals were there, and we had these steering committee meetings. We had them every Tuesday in the month of May, and said, what is it that we believe that gifted kids need in order to be successful? And where do we want to start at Riverside as far as creating a pilot program to help them to be successful? And before we did that, we looked at what Barbara Clark said, and she is what I call the mother of gifted education. She has written so many textbooks. She's a professor, and she said these are the areas of gifted education that we really need to focus on when we're talking about programming. It could be any programming model, but we need to make sure that the grouping is flexible, and that the curriculum is differentiated, meaning that our higher kids are getting what they need, our lower kids are getting what they need, and we're differentiating based on the individual needs of students. There's continuous progress, so it's not something they just get in 4th grade, but it continuously happens over the lifetime of the student. They have that intellectual peer interaction, so they can talk with kids about things that are interesting to them. And it's interesting because you might have 2 boys that are talking about algebra because it's interesting to them, and they can't tie their shoes because they haven't quite gotten to that milestone yet. And that's not uncommon, but it's that intellectual peers where they can find somebody else who gets them. And again, that continuity in the program. So it's not just a one and done, but it's something that's done over time that we implement, and it's sustainable. And also that we have teacher training and gifted education to make sure that our teachers are successful. So these were the best practices that came down from the research, and we knew that we needed to build our program based on this. And again, we're going to give you a general overview of the pillars that we came up with. We're still working out all the details. And once we have those details, we will give you a very detail-oriented back-to-school program on August 30th with all of the ins and outs, because the teachers are still working. It's still a fluid program, and we're still putting everything into place. We want to make sure that we have really laid that foundation. But we do have 3 focus areas that we are solid on. And the first is the whole child. So not just the academic side, that's a big piece of it, but also the social and emotional side here. And you'll notice there are some areas here that I want to point out. Let me see if I can grab my annotation tools. Okay, so we have teachers right now who have volunteered to take on to work with high cap kids next year. And so we're still, these are the teachers that we are working with that are helping us to build this vision. They've stepped forward and they've said, please take those gifted kids and cluster them or group them into my classroom. And we're going to talk a little bit about this cluster grouping model here in just a moment, but we are going to take our students and we're going to cluster them. And I'll talk about that in just a second. And this model is called the cluster grouping model, and it clusters high cap kids together. So those kids who are in the 80, in our school, we're casting a wide net. We're looking at the 89th percentile and higher, and we're going to group those kids together in one classroom with a teacher who has training in gifted and talented education. And hold on just a second, my little sweetheart needs to go out. Go. Sorry about that. She lays back there, and she, whenever I have meetings with students and whatnot, she's like our class pet, but sometimes she hears our family out there. Let's just spend time with them. So anyway, we want to make sure that these gifted kids are placed together in this school-wide, this cluster grouping model. So we're going to put them with their intellectual peers. That also takes our bright students. So those kids that haven't fallen into the highly capable range, but have fallen into the more of the bright range. And those kids then will be placed with a teacher, and they will have opportunities for their leadership skills to rise as well. It's kind of like being, it's kind of like taking, the gifted, it's going to be kind of like taking the opportunity for those kids and giving them opportunities to shine where they might not always be the best at math, but suddenly they're rising to the occasion. So they're going to be challenged as well. This is going to increase rigor for all students on a more full-time basis and provide leadership opportunities for a more wide range of students. And this is true because what's happened in the past in our SOAR programs is students may have been pulled out for 45 minutes once a week. We want a more inclusive model and to push into our classrooms. I'm going to let Ken speak on this because this is something we're doing district-wide as an initiative. Ken, can you speak to the inclusivity and pushing in?
What we found is that when we pull kids out of class to get like highly capable services or even special ed services or other types of interventions, they're missing out on the core instruction. So if there's a way to still get the core instruction in the classroom and push in some of these services to meet the unique needs of highly capable students or students with disabilities, we think that we can get better results out of that. And the research is showing that as well.
Thank you, Ken, appreciate that. So this is the focus area on the whole child. The benefits of this is that grouping them is going to give them full-time social, emotional, and academic advantages. It's also going to give teachers time to focus their instruction to better meet the needs of all kids. It's also going to shorten or reduce the range of students in a particular teacher's class. So if we've got a group of high cap kids with a high cap teacher, that teacher will have a smaller range of students, and the teacher in the other grade level won't have any gifted kids, and she or he will also have a smaller range of students, because right now what's happening is teachers are teaching gifted kids all the way down to special ed. The range is just too wide. So we're going to narrow that range so that they can focus their instruction. And what the research finds that Ken mentioned is that achievement rises when we do this for most students. The second area, the first was focusing on the child. The second is focusing on the teacher. So what we're going to do is we're going to provide wraparound support for the teachers as well in the form of professional development. We're sending them to a virtual conference this summer, and it is called Confertutes, and it's out of Yukon. I've been wanting to go forever, but it's so expensive to travel across the country. Now it's done virtually. And so Joseph Renzulli, his wife, is going to be there. Big names in literacy, big names in math, technology, school-wide enrichment model, and we can get our questions answered on cluster grouping. All of that will be part of this Confertute experience. So our teachers are going to have 3 days of in-depth training. We're also going to work the rest of the year, and those sessions will be recorded so that our teachers will be able to have continuous professional development and wraparound support. I'll be in the classroom with them. The teachers who've stood up and said, hey, I want to take the high cap kids, working with them on lesson planning and on differentiating the curriculum, giving them strategies that'll work with their high cap kids to meet their unique needs, giving them coaching, but these strategies will work with all kids. So that's our plan for next year in those focus areas. Again, the benefit is that ongoing professional development, and it builds teachers' capacity. So over time, they're going to get better and better in working with all kids because they're going to have a toolbox of strategies that they can use in their classroom, whether they're teaching kids that are high cap or bright kids or kids in the middle, even the lower kids. Strategies will work across the board. They're proven. It's going to reduce that range of students in the classroom. So teachers won't have to teach from one end of the spectrum to the other. And it's going to give us increased opportunities for collaborations with peers who are also teaching high cap. So teachers will begin to have PLCs around high cap, around that professional development, so that they can share ideas and share the best research that's happening in the field. The third piece of the puzzle is the parent support. So we're going to increase our parent support next year and give you additional training and opportunities so that you can meet the needs of your children at home. And that's what I was hearing from parents. I'd like resources, I'd like ideas. I just want to talk to somebody. I've got these IQ scores, I don't know what they mean. Or I've got a child who is dealing with perfectionism. Can you please help me? Or I have a child who I know they're capable of doing more and they're just not doing it. Can you please help me? So we're going to be able to give you support in that area, but also give you opportunities to meet with other high cap families. Our first meeting is going to be at Ramfest, where we're going to come together, and I'll be talking a little bit more about that in a moment, but it's finding those intellectual peers, giving you opportunities to talk with other families who are walking the same journey as you, share phone numbers, get people together. I know there are people here on this call tonight that are desperately looking for intellectual peers for their children. And sometimes it can just be exhausting when you're the only one that's listening and they're asking questions about Minecraft or something that you know nothing about, but they're so highly passionate about it. And if you could just find somebody to have, that they can have those conversations with, and that you can have those conversations with as well, the benefits are phenomenal for parents. And so that will give you increased support to understand your child's unique needs, as well as opportunities to meet with other families. And so again, the first meeting will be at Ramfest, and I am going to talk about that right now. Here it is. So that will be on Thursday night. And one of the things that I'd like to do is a summer fun swap. And what that means is we're going to be meeting at the south end of the field. So down by the elementary school under the, you'll see our booth. It'll be underneath the scoreboard. Please bring your chairs, bring your children, and bring anything that your children has outgrown, not clothing, but academic things that you think other gifted kids might want to swap. So I know downstairs, I was just talking to my boys tonight, we have some books that they're no longer reading. They're in high school now. I will be bringing those books. Maybe you have an old microscope that your child has outgrown, or, some old, it could be anything. It could be blocks. It could be anything at all. Bring that and bring a bag, because we want them to be able to swap different things that they're no longer using that we think that other kids might benefit from. So it's kind of like if your kids are involved at all in athletics here, they have a swap of old mitts, old shoes, old cleats, those kinds of things. It's like that, but for high cap kids. So please bring those things to Ramfest, bring a bag so you can take some things home, bring your lawn chair, and bring your kids. And this will be an opportunity for you to visit with me, and you'll be able to visit with one another, get phone numbers. I can answer any questions that you might have, and really just a chance for us to get together. We're also going to be getting together again. I mentioned that we're going to go much deeper into what the program looks like, who the teachers are, all of the ins and outs at our back to school open house, back to school Riverside on August 30th. And that's going to be in the multi-purpose room, just so we can get all of the people in. If we do have a smaller group, we might change to a smaller venue, but at this point, it'll be at the multi-purpose room at the high school, and that'll start at 6:30, and you'll get more information over the summer as the summer goes, as we go through the summer. And as we're looking at this, I'm going to stop sharing for just a moment. I'm going to pull up that original list that you all created. And let me share it here. And just give me a thumbs up if you can see it. It's that Padlet where we all started. Thumbs up. Okay, great. So as you're looking at this, you should have an annotate button at the top of your screen. It's like a little black thing. It might not come up if you're on an iPad, or it might be on the bottom, but it says annotate. And you can click on that button and you can go to the stamp section. And on the stamp section, there's a heart, a star, check mark, whatever. I'm going to just choose the heart here. I'm going to look at some of these, and I'd like you to go through the same, and I think you should be able to see my screen. And if you see something that you think is going to be reflected next year or covered next year, just put some kind of stamp next to it. So one of the things that I mentioned is that we're going to have an opportunity for parents to connect with other parents. So I just chose a stamp, and I said, parents need a village in order to raise gifted kids. They really do. So I put my stamp next to that. So if you, as you're going through and looking through here, what is it that you see that we're going to be doing next year? If you can't use the annotate tool and just want to go to the Padlet, you can definitely go back to the Padlet. The link is inside a chat, and just go ahead and select some of these things that you see that we will be doing next year based on what you said that we need. Jacqueline doing some, and feel free to do as many as you want. Take a few minutes. We'll actually take about 45 seconds here. Just look through these. What is it that you think that we're going to be able to cover next year based on what people said gifted kids need? Yes, our teachers are going to be differentiating the instruction. Kids are going to have the opportunity to explore their varied interests when possible, because the teachers are going to know who those kids are. And as Ken mentioned, they know them by their name, strength, and need. And strength is going to be in there, really a strength-focused approach to education with our kids next year. A village. You'll have a village surrounding you. You'll have wraparound support so that you will be supported as well as the teachers and as well as your child. So you're not just out there floundering, trying to figure it all out. Exposure to resources. We mentioned that a second time, and advanced teaching, because we'll be working with teachers who actually have training. They'll be getting direct training from me as well as others, experts in the field of gifted education, through professional development, through different conferences, and have opportunities to talk about those things. An open line of communication with parents. This came across very strongly with the teachers as well. They really wanted to make sure that that was open so that parents had an open line of communication between me, between teachers and parents, between principals and parents, so that you were able to advocate for your child and get what it was that they need. And that the teachers are getting the training that they need. And I like this one. The school leaders need to know that these kids really want to learn. The more avenues for learning that are available to the district, the better. And a lot of people agreed with that. All right. Thank you so much for sharing. We are really excited about next year. We're excited about working with your children. We're excited about where the district is heading. Again, we're going to go slow to go fast. And I'm going to turn it over to Ken if he has any closing words, and then we'll open it up for questions.
I don't think so. Thanks so much for coming tonight, and we'll just take any questions that you might have. And that's okay if you don't. That's Brandy, you did a great job.
Wow. Thank you, guys.
Okay, well, thanks so much for joining us. It's a journey that we'll be on together, and we'll keep talking, we'll keep building together, and it's going to be so exciting for sure. So we'll see some of you at Ramfest on Thursday night. It's supposed to be good weather, knock on wood, 5 to 8 at the stadium. Come join the fun. There should be thousands of people there, 50 plus vendors, all kinds of food options. We even have a cake walk this year, bringing back the cake walk.
And I'm masterful at connecting kids, so I will be able to help you to connect your children with intellectual peers. I've already started, so please bring your kids and I'll help you connect them when we're there. All right, if you don't have any questions, feel free to log off. If you do, feel free to stay on. We'll be on for a few more minutes. Thanks for coming, everybody. We'll see you at Ramfest.
I'm a little bummed to not see Ken or Brandy on the dunk tank.
I'm gonna be at the I'm gonna be
okay, so we got Ken then.
But definitely Ken.
How about Ken? We got to get the superintendent in there.
Yeah, maybe at the end. I got a lot to do that night, but maybe
there is one slot open and it's at the end, Ken.
Okay.
I saw it today.
And it's going to be warm enough. It's not going to be cold like it was.
We will think less of you if you don't.
Right? Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds
Thanks,
good.
guys.
Hey, thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Brandy.
Thank you so much, Pat. Good to see you.
Appreciate it. Yeah, you too. Okay. Thanks, Dr. Russell.
Thanks, Pat.